Welcome to another episode of Just Some Points. Today we will focus on local SEO. I think talking about SEO in general, before you actually dive into what you should do as a company, I think it's important to differentiate between the local SEO and, let's say, regional and national SEO. A lot of the small companies, they don't really have the same requirements as, let's say, bigger companies that want to perform well in search engines regionally or nationally. Those, if you want to do that, that requires completely different, strategies for SEO. So today, we will only talk about local SEO and how you actually can rank better and show better. And we decided that we will talk about it in three different categories from three different perspectives. One, organic SEO, two, social media and its impact on SEO, and three, the digital advertising. While each of the pieces might not be SEO per se, the way we look at SEO is SEO stands for search engine optimization, and each of those components help you to show higher in the search engine. So although digital advertising is a paid advertising that makes you help show, not necessarily per se SEO, we do look at it as SEO because it helps you within the search engine. So with that said, why don't we dive in? And I would say let's pick maybe social media first, and let's talk about SEO. So who wants to get going? What do you think? What do you think we should focus on as it relates to SEO and social media?
I would say, in my opinion, one of the most important things you could do with social media is be easier to reach for your audience. Obviously, with social media, you want to reach your local audience. You want to get in front of the people in your community, and you want those people to have a good impression of your business online so that they promote you to other local people within your target audience. And honestly, the easiest way to do that is to use the Facebook messaging systems and use chatbots, which I know we've talked about in the past, but it's a really, really key piece of customer service, customer satisfaction, making sure that you have an open source for communication with your customers. Make sure that they're more encouraged to leave you good reviews, which is all good for SEO.
And those bots became really good in the last year and a half. So, and even for, let's say, novices, it's not that difficult to set up. Is it right?
Yeah. There are a lot of different chatbot options out there. Some, more elaborate than others, but there are some simple ones out there too, where it's just a simple API connection to your Facebook account.
Great. Catherine, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that and say through your social media channels, you really want to bond with your local community and customers. So you can do that just by asking advice about your business or getting feedback in any way and letting people comment on your posts and ask questions and just show that you're receptive to their feedback and that you're willing to interact with them. And the social media profiles just provide a great platform for you to be able to reach that audience on a long-term basis.
Yeah, I think that's another good point. And I think related to that, I think especially we're talking about hyper-local, businesses. If, join maybe local Facebook groups in your town. I live in Chester, New Jersey. I know there are actually numerous, there's actually one big Chester Facebook group that a lot of the local businesses are in, and they're being seen. They're part of the conversation, part of the interaction. I think that's really how you make yourself being part of it and being out there. And I would say related to that, my message would be, my advice would be, when you do interact, when you do use social media online, that you don't just use it to sell. Don't go out and just say, buy me, buy me, buy me. It's the other way around, and say, I can help you if you buy me, or like here's what you know, how we can help you. Here's how you can benefit from us, and or just, you know, interact with them, not even related to what you sell itself. And I think that's very important. I think people, especially related to social media and brands and businesses, are very put off by people trying to just sell without any purpose other than your own benefit of, you know, making a sell.
Absolutely.
And also, I would say, change it up. Be aware of who your target groups are, and don't just make all posts generic across all of your target groups. Switch it up. You know, if, let's say, if some of your target groups are elderly, have some specific posts readdressing them. If your target group, another target group might be dog owners, talk to dog owners once in a while. Not all posts have to fit to all your customers. I think that's another way how you actually become more relevant.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And on top of that, know where your audience is on social media as well. So obviously your Facebook audience is going to be different than your Instagram audience in terms of age, especially age and gender. So know what channels to leverage when you're trying to reach those, you know, niche parts of your audience.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Okay, that's good. So let's talk about true local organic SEO, because that's really also still a big component of where you have to pay attention to. And I know every time you talk about local organic SEO, Catherine wants to talk about Google My Business listings, right?
Yes, we've talked about this before, but the Google My Business listings are really key for getting your business to show up on search results and even Google Maps results. So it's the free listing. You just have to verify that you own your business, which is super easy, and Google can help you through that process if you're having trouble. But it's the best way to have your business show up when somebody searches your name, but also searches keywords. So if you're a local coffee shop and somebody Googles coffee shop near me, you'll come up in that listing and they'll be able to easily see your hours, your location, go to your website, or even call in or see your menu or photos of your different options. And so it's just the best way to reach those clients and potential customers.
That's right. It's a very good point. And here too, you do not need a marketing agency or a big marketing budget. It is something you can do at home in front of the TV. Make sure your listings are properly set up and accurate and all of those things. So it's not all things related to digital marketing has to be expensive. This is something that's in your own power, even if you're really not all that deep in digital marketing. Related to that, I want to talk about, you know, reviews, because regardless of the type of business you have, you know, you have to focus on reviews. Reviews. It's something we preach to all of our clients. There too, it's to a large degree in your power. I would say it is impossible as a business today to completely avoid bad reviews. Things happen, you know, and you have to deal with that. But first and foremost, you have to make sure that you get more good reviews than bad reviews. And that starts in your store, in whatever, you know, business you have. You know, make sure you create a good customer experience, even if problems arise, you know, because those offline experiences, they carry onto your SEO or onto the online platform and ultimately influence your reviews and your search engine optimization. So pay attention to that and create good customer experiences. Related to that, if you do get bad reviews, respond to them online. There are interesting studies and as research done how a good response to bad review has an even bigger positive impact on your brand and on your customers than not responding at all, or than actually even positive reviews, because they see every customer recognizes and understands that not everything can run perfect. But what matters to customers very often, how do you deal with problems and bad reviews? So again, don't get, you know, don't avoid bad reviews, just address them. And actually, another related thing, I want to give you an example on that. And a former employee of ours, he went to Las Vegas once and wanted to check in one of the big hotels. It was a long, long line, and he was really annoyed. He stood there like for 45 minutes without actually really moving a lot, and so he tweeted that was annoyed about it. And within a minute, he got a response back from the Caesar Palace, not even the hotel where he was in, saying, "Sorry that your visit in Las Vegas started with a bad experience. We hope this will change soon, or we hope that you will have a better experience the rest of your stay." They didn't sell them. Mm-hmm. They just basically responded to a bad experience that the person had in Las Vegas because they see Las Vegas as the brand, which I thought was extraordinary. I love that example. Mm-hmm. Melissa, what do you think related to, I know you're knee deep every day in local SEO.
Yeah. It's going to sound like a cliche, like overused term, but content is still king. The Google search algorithm is very, very complex and changes, hundreds of times every year. But at the end of the day, in its simplest terms, Google is a search engine that is taking search queries and keywords and providing searchers with the top results of those queries. So your content needs to be relevant to your target audience. And it does need to be localized. So including your location, your contact information, high level, like what your services are, what are people looking for that they can find you. That's what you should be focusing on in your content. And it's not a one and done process. It's an ongoing process. You want to keep adding content, whether you're blogging or expanding your service pages on your website, just or making announcements. Find these creative ways to reach your audience. Do your research in terms of, how are people coming to find you? What search queries are working? And look at your competitors too. There's a lot of software out there where you can actually see what your competitors are ranking for, and you can kind of figure out how to snag those same keywords too.
Yeah, all good points. And I just wanted to add to that is we don't shy away from hyper-localizing the content too. If there's a local craft fair in your town and there's something that you can relate to your business, but if you had a showing there or had something to do there, create some content on your website and reference that fair. It's stuff like that we signals Google that you're a local business that's very active, and they look at content like that as relevant content, at least and timely. I actually want to make another example of somebody. I got to meet at the conference audiology owner of an audiology practice in Washington State, and she was extremely creative how she bridged offline and online. And she had actually online. She had she pushed everything she did offline online as well. And one of the things she said, one of the biggest bang for the buck she got from the annual Memorial Day parade, where she always invested. Was her big marketing investment. She had always a big outrageous float. Her audiology practice was known for the most outrageous big float in town at the Memorial Day parade, and she used this online then for a few weeks and in social media and wherever, took photos, and it was great. And I love that example of how somebody can actually do something. It was very inexpensive, actually, that float, and for her it was more important that it was outrageous because of that, wanted to stand out. So there's a lot of things you can do for very little and bridge it with online. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So related to SEO, as I said in the intro, we look at the digital paid advertising also as something that falls under search engine optimization because it helps you to show on top. What can we advise on that? Either of you.
So from that side, you really want to get involved with your community. So you can do this by supporting local events or things like that, because if you give into your community will give back to you. So you can sponsor if your town has a 5K or something, that usually your sponsorship usually comes with your logo on the 5K website, maybe a newsletter or some type of press release, and then also just great brand awareness at these events. I know firsthand, back in the day when I was a kid, I used to play on the t-ball team, and the local diner sponsored our t-ball team. So the front of our shirts had the diner name. So all of the photos that the moms are posting on Facebook,
Right.
the diner name was front and center. And then also after all of the games, our whole team and our families would go to the diner for lunch. So they were supporting
right.
us, and in turn, that was the one place that we always went. We never questioned where we would go for lunch that day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a few stores in town too, and they the ones that are really pushing that, they have the images of the teams laid out right at the counter so that everybody sees all the teams that they support.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very good point. Melissa?
My biggest advice is if you're going with paid search ads or even social media ads as well, make sure that you are really hyper targeting your local audience. You can get very, very granular in your targeting. You can literally put a radius around your location, whether you're a storefront or if you're a service area and you serve a certain, county, or however you serve your area. You could put a radius around that. You can tell Google or Facebook what age range you're looking for, what gender you're looking for. Even with Facebook, you could do the interest targeting, you could do income targeting. So if you know you have to hit somebody within a certain income, you can really narrow down what your audience is. And that's only the more work you put into that, the more you're going to get out of it, because you want to serve to the people Google thinks will end up making that step in calling you or contacting you in some way, rather than just a broad audience where you might get a lot of clicks and impressions, but doesn't actually turn into a true conversion.
Mm-hmm.
They're all great points. And I would add to that, if you do it yourself, put the time in, but a lot of people don't have the expertise to run the campaigns. If you have a marketing agency do this for you, work closely with them. Keep feeding them with information on the target groups you're really going after, on the specifics that Melissa just mentioned. And then one other comment related to that is for businesses that have sizable mailing lists, let's say email mailing lists, you can actually use those mailing lists, those email addresses in Google to convert them into lookalike addresses, target groups, meaning Google takes those emails and they know all of us and all of our emails. And they, based on those email lists, they create target, basically they are targeting that type of people, and they use those email lists to better fine-tune and optimize your advertising. So it's very powerful what you can do. It's just you have to work it, and it doesn't happen necessarily overnight, but within a few months you should see significant impact on that. So that is all good stuff. I think that's a pretty solid summary for local SEO. Any final words, Catherine?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to be involved in your community and also responsive on Facebook. So like you mentioned earlier, you don't want all of your social media to just be about selling stuff. So being involved in your community, that makes great content for your social profiles. And it just helps get your brand out there and show that you're involved in your community.
Melissa?
My final thought would be just do everything you can to know your users. at the end of the day, the user experience goes far beyond just the website. It goes from the very first search that someone's trying to find you and they click on your links. How easy is it for them to contact you? How easy is it for them to find your hours online or find any information that they're looking for? The user is what you're trying to please at the end of the day. So knowing as much as you can about them is only going to help you.
Yeah. And not to forget, we didn't talk about website and the website technology. And we have a whole episode, actually various episodes about that. Melissa could talk about that for probably 2 hours alone. But there's something, that, we excluded that in our today's episode, because that is a given, that you have to have a solid website that is mobile, like responsive and mobile capable, and is properly structured and all of those things. So we didn't address that today. My last words would be, aside from all of that, is SEO, especially also local SEO, is a very fluid topic. Things are changing almost every month. I know it keeps us on our toes every month. What's new, what's changing, and to stay on top of that. So it's not something where you can put some time in for a week or 2 weeks or this month and then, okay, I did my job. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to see it, there's constantly new opportunities to improve your search engine optimization. It needs constant nurturing and re-educating yourself what you can do. Okay, that concludes our episode today. I hope you liked it, and see you next week. Bye.